Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
I'm feeling good. Weather's changing here. We're getting into the fall pay-per-view premium live event season here. Like, it's about to pick up pretty quick. So November is a busy month for wrestling. We're not too far off from that. And so, yeah, I'm feeling good today.
Good, man. I'm excited for this one. This will be a pretty good match. The Rock seems to be in the news right now a little bit in the wrestling news, kind of inserted him back into all of the wrestling conversation, which is, we'll talk more about it, but it's just like crazy when you think about someone that really, wrestling has if you're watching football in 20 years, 15 years, you're not going to be talking about Tom Brady every single week, right?
Right.
We don't sit here talking about John Elway.
Yeah, right.
But wrestling, it's and I know Stone Cold came back and wrestled, but the dude hadn't wrestled in almost 20 years. Okay.
Yep.
He never left. The Rock's never left, yet he's been gone for forever. We're going to cover a match 23 years ago. So just crazy to think about, man. Why did you pick this match?
Yeah, this was one of those kind of looking at, bringing back recently. I know NXT had the No Mercy show, which was really good. I know you and I enjoyed that. And just kind of looking at what shows were happening. We got some Survivor Series coming up here. So I'm always trying to squeeze in some different matches, just some stuff that I was like, oh shit, why haven't we talked about that? And this was a pretty highly ranked or highly rated match rather, from the reviewers. And so it's just one of those where it's you know what, why not? And also just looking at the name, like you said, The Rock is, practically, it's only a matter of time before we get the big match with Roman or any of that stuff. I feel like every other week Kurt Angle is given an interview, which our time will come. I know that. And so that's why I enjoy too. The guy, I feel man, he is busting to get healthy because he wants to be back in the ring. It's crazy. And so it's exciting though. And so why not talk about these guys?
Love it. All right, let's jump into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so No Mercy 2000, which, Jeff, this is actually also the year that the video game came out.
Yeah. Oh man.
Were you in No Mercy? Isn't that this? I must have missed this. I don't know why, because I feel like I played most of the wrestling video games, but this is the No Mercy game is the holy grail of video wrestling games, right?
Yeah, it is. And real quick, when they did at the NXT show, I know I sent you, and they opened with that old Nintendo 64. Boy, that production team was top notch that week. That was great.
Yeah, you got to mix in nostalgia. Because it's new fans think it's cool because they've never seen it before, and guys like us, our age, just think it's cool as shit. So,
yep.
October 22nd, 2000, we're in Albany, New York at the Pepsi Arena. It's No Mercy 2000. Did 550,000 buy rates. There's 14. Which is a lot. It tells you how hot that. It's funny. We think Attitude Era, 97, 98. They were printing money in 2000. The business was really, really humming. Even if you think the on-screen product might have been better in 98 or 99, man, 2000, making a ton of money. And of course, all the money they were making then pales in comparison to now. So let's get into this show. We start off with the Dudley Boys last eliminating Right to Censor in a Dudley Boys invitation tables match in 12 minutes. The APA and Lita are going to end in a no contest with Test and Albert. TNA with Trish. That's how they brought Trish in, if you remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
She was the Test and Albert manager, and my goodness, when she first debuted, oh my God.
Yeah.
And she looks the same 23 years later, so go
better.
Figure.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right? Jericho's going to defeat X-Pac in a 10-minute steel cage match. Right to censor, different right to censor folks than earlier. This is Steven Richards and Val Venus. They're going to defeat Chyna and Billy Gunn in a 7-minute tag match. Now, this is probably not what you were expecting me to say. In a no contest, no holds barred match, 10 minutes they went, Stone Cold and Rikishi wrestled. Remember, Rikishi took out Stone Cold in the car accident because they had to write him out with his neck injury. I did not remember this match happening, but yeah, that was kind of a miss there.
Yeah.
William Regal is going to retain his European Championship, defeating Naked Minion in 6 minutes. Los Conquistadors, Uno and Dos, defeat the Hardy Boys in 10 minutes to win the Tag Team Championships. Now, Los Conquistadors are two guys that have been in the news recently, Edge and Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Our semi-main event, Triple H is going to defeat Chris Benoit in 18 minutes. And then the reason we're here, no DQ, WWF Championship match. We've got The Rock, who's our champion, wrestling Kurt Angle, who's accompanied by Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. That's all I got, man. How did we get to a no DQ match between Angle and The Rock?
Yeah, it's such a weird card when you're talking about that.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, so what we got in here, you've got really the co-main events on this one. You had Triple H and Benoit and Kurt Angle and The Rock. And of course, The Rock and Kurt Angle being for the WWF World Heavyweight title. It was a no DQ match. And so you got to go back a month prior to this. And there was some stuff before this, but you had Triple H beating Angle. That was also a no DQ match. And you had The Rock actually retaining the championship against Benoit, The Undertaker, and Kane. You got a fatal 4-way match on that one. You then had, as we had, this was the kind of era of this, you had Angle and Benoit then tag teaming to defeat The Rock and Triple H in a match just on SmackDown. And then a week later, you had Benoit actually helping Angle to defeat Triple H to become the number one contender for the title at No Mercy at this show. So because of that, you then had Triple H and Benoit feuding, and the commissioner Mick Foley at the time making that match official, and then leading into, of course, then Kurt Angle being the number one contender, so him taking on The Rock in this no DQ match. And so it was really just kind of how they set it up in the storylines of this one. Like, they had these guys that were feuding. All right, we're going to go with Triple H and Benoit, and then we're going to go with Kurt Angle and The Rock. So Kurt Angle, kind of fairly straightforward, had a little bit of a feud. We got the tag team. Can they get along? And then you end up with a number one contender match. And here we are. So fairly straightforward on this one, more so than that. Doesn't really need more than that. Like when you've got, especially those names, just go for it. Put them in the ring and see what happens.
Yeah. Less is more for sure. No Mercy 2000. We're at the 2-hour and 20-minute mark. Season 2, episode 1. 2-hour, 20-minute mark. No Mercy 2000. Jeff, are you ready?
Let's do it.
It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
All right, here we go. The Rock holding the strap, staring down Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. No Mercy 2000, buddy.
Can I just say, too, it's almost jarring, like the production we get nowadays and how big, I'm looking, it's literally like an inflatable projector screen, like where they're the entrances are being shown on compared to what we have now. It's come such a long way. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it literally was a big-ass projector behind a screen.
Right. That's it. Yeah. Staring each other down. Rock looking great. Angle looking great, too.
So it was funny. I saw this after I was going through the card, but Los Conquistadors, Christian and Edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they, and we're off. And they win the tag titles here earlier in the show. The following night, the Hardy Boys dressed up as Los Conquistadors. they attack Christian and then they beat Edge 2-on-1 to regain the titles.
Okay.
Or, remember, this is an interesting topic, but like this was the era where we just changed titles more. So I think that, there's a clear difference between then and now. And so, where do you sit? Because, as we're recording this, you got Gunther, you've got Roman Reigns, you've got these really long these really long title runs. Even Seth Rollins now, it's like, I don't know when they created that new title, but I mean, we're probably 6 months-ish, maybe even longer. And, there's so you just, what do you prefer? Do you long title runs, or do you like, what we used to have, which I'd say felt like a decade or more of hot-shotting the titles?
Yeah, it was interesting because I think it kind of folds into, because I sent you a picture this week or whatever it was, and it's in the line on it was, is there a specific reason why Gunther's reign feels more prestigious than Seth's? Perhaps the level of opponents, matches, age of the title. I think I prefer the long title reigns, like, just to answer the question right out of the gate. But I think that kind of raises an interesting point here. Like, Gunther's going out there and having great matches, like with that belt, super long run. Like, I think from the start, they probably said, you're going to break Honky Tonk, or maybe at least halfway through, they said, yeah, you're going to have this belt for a long time. I think too, like, it adds a lot to it when you put it on someone that knows what to do with it. We are still in for me at least, like, Seth has the secondary title. Like, he has the title because they didn't know what to do with Roman, so they had to make something else. At least as of recording, Seth has it. And I think that, like, it does, in my brain, that still takes away from it. Now, are in 20 years, if someone's doing this podcast, other than us, and they're having this same conversation, there isn't going to be an asterisk next to Seth's name. So you're not going to remember that. But as we're living in the moment, like, you almost have to have Seth with a long reign. So you can say, oh, like, he held the belt for a long time. I do think it adds a ton to it, like, letting them have it for a long, like, I'm like, they're not hurting. Like we've said it before, every match doesn't need to be for the title. And there's a lot of matches for the title that don't need to be for a title. And so, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the long reign. We're tearing up the stage already too here.
Everything you mentioned, I agree with. I mean, I think this, the Gunther thing, I mean, the reality is, the Intercontinental title kind of has more cachet than a new made up world title.
Yep.
Gunther, we've never seen before.
Yep.
Seth Rollins, we have. I mean, the Seth Rollins thing, we've just done this before. And yes, I understand he's dressing differently than he did before, but it's the same shit, man. And again, hell of a worker, great performer. He's going to have a 15 to 20 year run in the company, probably. Nothing but love for Seth Rollins, but it just does nothing for me. Yeah, all his matches are going to be really good. I get it, so what? I just, I don't dislike it, but I'm not like, wow, this is a hell of a run. So yeah, I think that the longevity, beating the Honky Tonk Man, it being something we've never seen before, it being a title that we've seen for a long time, it feeling fresh, it feeling fresh because we haven't seen the Intercontinental title in this prominent of a position in such a long time. The matches have just been absolutely fantastic. I mean, like, you take a guy like Chad Gable, and it's like, who would have ever thought that Gunther and Chad Gable would be an awesome match that you'd be super intrigued about? So
I'm looking too. So, like, we talk about building stars. Like, while he had a long indie run and presence, like, I'm looking at it, like, Gunther actually debuted in 2007. They built him into a star. Like, from 2019 till now, I had forgot he was the longest reigning UK champ. He had it for 870 days. Like, we forget about that. And then now, like, he's the longest Intercontinental champion. Like, you can't tell me, like, oh, they're not building stars. like I enjoy too. Like it gives me motivation. I share that photo of like how Gunther looked like when he first started in NXT to how he looks now. Like, boy, like people shit on the Performance Center, and we do too. Like pumping out like some of the same like product, and when it looks like with how they're training everybody. But man, the training, like they're better than an NFL team. They're better than sports teams when it comes to getting people in shape. Like they have built him into a star and continue to. So, yeah, great. Good match. We're back in the ring at this point here. Like been nonstop so far. While it's no DQ, these guys are kind of wrestling just a standard match at this point.
So yeah, it's I mean, Angle early in his career still has hair, and
yeah,
this was kind of the tail end of where The Rock was just a great young athlete. I mean, obviously, when he does wrestle again, which he will, it just will look different. He's not going to be moving around quite this fast, and he's just a hell of a lot bigger. So we talked about that Seth title run. My belief, and this was my belief at the time, and certainly is now, is that Seth role of, hey, we have a new title, we need to get this title over, probably need a really good run because the guy who we give this title to needs to make this title because we're just creating a world title out of thin air essentially. So that's clearly a secondary title to Roman Reigns. My belief at the time was, why not make that guy Edge? I saw Edge winning that title, okay? And wow, this is cool. What a great story. Edge is, come back from the neck injury to reach the top. He's the world champion. Wow, what a great moment. Then you have all the matches with Edge. You do Edge Seth. You do Edge Logan Paul, you do Edge versus Gunther, you do Edge versus all these guys, that he hasn't wrestled yet. And I think it could have been really, really fun. And then whoever beats Edge, most likely a heel, but whoever beats Edge is a made man because now they're a world champ and they beat, an all-time legend. But I think you could have gotten a 6 to 12 month run as champion out of Edge. Ironically, he said, well, my WWE deal was for 10 matches only. Like they couldn't have said, hey, can we use you for 20 matches and we'll pay you, more or double or whatever. I just didn't understand that. I'm in the camp of, hey, I'm happy for Edge. I understand why he went to AEW. It's the creative freedom. It's working with his best friend. It's something new. It's fresh matches. I get all that. I just wish, and I think the WWE just did not see anything more in him than what they used him for. And I just don't get it. I mean, you're telling me there wasn't another Edge Roman match in there. You're telling me you couldn't have done Edge Cody. I just don't get it. And I wish they would have used him better. Maybe he didn't speak up. Maybe he was difficult to work with. Maybe he was holding firm on the 10 matches. Maybe he took the AEW deal because it was just for too much money, and he couldn't say no. I don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know the complete truth. And I don't take what I've heard all at face value. I think there's more to the story than that. And I really do think there was, whether it was creative issues or financial issues, there was something that led him to do this. Anyways, that's kind of where I stand on it, but I wish that I would have put him in that Seth role, and I think that Seth title would mean more had it been Edge and just some really fresh, great matches.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm happy that he's happy, but at the same time, I don't like how they rolled it out. I think I texted you or somebody as the show was starting, there's 14 matches on the show. I look forward to Edge debuting at midnight. And sure enough, and I watched, it was 11, at least at my time, it was 11:57 that Edge's music hit. It's like, how do you, I get it. For the people there, it's a big deal. It does, but also you don't and it was a pay-per-view, which I think in the last month they've asked us to spend about $200 on pay-per-view, which there's no fucking way I'm doing that. And also to have him debut it, when he did, it takes away too from, there were some good matches on that card, like Daniel Bryan Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. wrestled one of the best matches ever technically. And nobody's talking about it. because it all got lost with the Edge stuff late that night. And so that's kind of, so yeah, I'm with you. Like, I guess we'll see where it goes. Like, we know we're going to get the Edge Christian match at some point. We know we're going to get the reunion at some point. Edge will probably turn heel because that's where Christian is right now. Like, yeah, like who knows? Like, and I think it was you that texted me like, the best thing you can come up with is he wrestles a dragon for his first match, or excuse me, a dinosaur. Like, come on, like,
yeah. That's where AEW, I just think really is lacking is, and I don't know what the issue is. Obviously, my theory is there's just too much of one person booking, and I just think Tony needs a team, and they need to say, okay, Edge debut is really hard to screw up, right? We've got his music, we've got his gimmick, the guy's over. Seattle just feels like a good audience for him to debut at. Okay, yep. Like all good, right? Like that all checks out. So you can't really screw that up because all he has to do is come out and hit a spear. Okay, and he could have come out whenever, and that was just easy. Okay. But then you have to sit there and say, okay, if you and I were writing that, right? If we're writing this thing, we say, okay, what comes next? Well, next we probably need him to cut a promo on Wednesday night and say why he's back. And I'd even argue, Jeff, that would have been a lot better than, let's do a media scrum with 8 writers in a ballroom afterwards.
Yeah.
Why would you do it then? Nobody was watching that.
It's 1 a.m.
There's only 100,000 people that ordered the pay-per-view. And then some of them said, hey, it's 1 o'clock in the fucking morning, so I'm going to sleep, right? Or I don't even know there is a media scrum. So you got like 15,000 people watching Edge say, well, here's why I'm here, and here's how long I signed for. And why would you do that there? Jeff, wouldn't you say, hey, we're not going to say shit. Edge is going to open his mouth for the first time in AEW and explain why he's here, what his mission statement is Wednesday night on Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is a million times better. Okay. Then we say, well, we have a Tuesday Dynamite coming up. And gosh, wouldn't it be nice if he debuted there? That way we're able to capitalize on his debut on a Tuesday night, blah, blah, blah. Okay. No problem there. But Jeff, wouldn't you say, hey, who should he wrestle and how do we get there? Well, we want him to wrestle Luchasaurus. Okay, fine. Should Luchasaurus come out and challenge him on during his promo? Should Edge say, I have an open challenge to anyone on next week's Dynamite? Or hey, Luchasaurus, you got in my way when I debuted, and you're Christian's boy. So guess what? It's me and you. Anything's better. Anything's better than what they did, though. And I don't know if you watched it. I did. So after they have this show, Tony Khan, the money mark who's blowing dad's money on this little project and just paid Edge a fucking fortune to get him to jump. You know what he says? Edge, I'm so happy. I'm such a big fan. I'm so happy to have you here. And Tuesday night, next Tuesday on a special Dynamite, you're going to be wrestling Luchasaurus. That's
real
your
special.
build. That's
real
your
special.
Build. So
yeah.
We know this is all a work. We know it's fake. We know Tony, sets the matches. So that's your quote unquote story to get there. Is the owner of the company is just blurting it out right there while he's sitting next to the guy. No build, makes no sense. It was so stupid. And it's funny because I got on I tweeted something out and I said, this is why AEW has 100,000 of the same people buying all their pay-per-views. And there's another 25,000 if Punk comes back or guys like you and I decide we want to spend $50 on a show, might order it, and you get to 125, right? That's kind of your window. You're not getting more than that. You're not getting less than that. Why can't they grow the audience? Because of stuff like this. You need the story to be more intriguing. I love Edge. She's one of my favorite ever. I'm kind of going to tune in, but I'm not going to go out of my way to spend $50 because there's just not enough story there. There's nothing compelling enough. and I said that, of course, someone, and this just shows you how angry people are on Twitter, and I feel bad for these people, but it's like, oh, nice business advice from someone that has 25. Well, so I don't know anything about business because I don't have a big following on Twitter. Like,
right.
Such fucking morons. But anyways.
Sure. We got a good match going here. We've got Stephanie trying to help Angle with the belt. You had the Angle tapping out, but the ref not seeing it because of the distraction from Stephanie. And then they're, like I said, it's no DQ, but they're wrestling way more of just a match. And like we had a missed moonsault from Angle. There's a huge suplex there from The Rock. And so, yeah, there's a lot happening on this one. And Rock's setting up the rock bottom, but
the no DQ was so Stephanie could keep interfering, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
It's not like they're brawling all over and using a bunch of weapons or anything. Oh my goodness, here we go. Something you could not do anymore. Stephanie just takes a rock bottom.
Great too.
Oh yeah.
Well, and on the flip too, how they brought Edge out here, like as of recording, we're not sure what they're doing, but boy, they have rolled out whatever they're calling her, Jade Cargill, better than anyone they have in the last couple of years. Like they are building her up. Oh yeah, here comes the rock bottom to Stephanie. They're building her up to be a mega star, which I love, and I think that's like, and of course, she wasn't great in AEW, like. Boy, but WWE is putting the rocket behind her, like, and here we go. Like, it's a great time. You got Triple H coming out to the ring now too. Here, like, I'm excited for what they're going to do with her and what we're going to see. So that should be great. See, Triple H. Go ahead.
Catch The Rock on Pat McAfee.
I did not. No.
So go back. It's on iTunes. It's on the Pat McAfee show. And they have the timestamp of when the interview is. So just search like McAfee Rock on iTunes. You're on your podcast app.
Yeah. Yep.
The episode will pop up and the timestamp's right there. The interview was incredible. And that was the one where he even got into what happened with, basically Nick Khan, Vince, they fly out to LA. They set up Rock Roman at 39.
Yep.
And I think this was January of the year prior. So 15 months prior. They had it all set up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think just some things changed. I don't know if the Cody thing changed it. I don't know what changed it. I don't know if it was Rock's schedule. He said he can make the time. He just wants whatever they do to be epic. And I don't know if that means, hey, when I come back, I want to come back as a surprise at Rumble, work that show and work WrestleMania and maybe work the pay-per-view in between. I don't know what that means, but it just sounds like, hey, I want to do more than a match. I want to do something really memorable and really, really exciting. So when that happens, and it will happen, and I don't know if it'll be, I'd assume it's Rock Roman, but whatever we end up with will really be special, man. It'll be awesome. I can't wait. But, you think now with this new UFC deal, WrestleMania 40 is just going to be massive. I mean, this could be the year they pull the trigger on it, but I wouldn't be shocked if you got Rock at Rumble, right? And that was your build. And he really committed to a nice run there. But it'll be interesting. I mean, my belief is if you have The Rock, you have to use him. And the reality is it's funny. It's like I do think that Cody's the guy. I do. But it doesn't have to be at WrestleMania. There's no reason why, in front of 50,000 at SummerSlam, Cody can't finally get his moment. So if you have The Rock, you use him at WrestleMania and you make a big deal about it, right?
Rikishi's walking out here too now to get involved in the match. I have probably the unpopular opinion on this one. I don't think they know what they're doing with Cody right now. I think that I think, he had the run with Brock, which he didn't really need. That wasn't that great. I know at Fastlane, he had the tag match, which Judgment Day, which I don't think he signed to come be in a tag match with Jey Uso against the Judgment Day. I just don't. I don't think they fully know. And I think it's because Cena came back, The Rock came back. Like, who could have predicted that in 2023 that Cena and The Rock are going to end up, having matches and Cena's going to help put over LA Knight in a tag match. But also they'd split up the Usos and now there's that whole thing. So Rock gets a rock bottom, but can't get the pin. So I think that it's just I don't know, and I'm with you. It doesn't need to be at Mania. They keep talking about finishing the story, but man, it's going to be a long story at this point because we are not that far away. When you think about it, we are not that many pay-per-views away from a WrestleMania here. And I just don't know if they know what they're going to do. I feel like it's a Punk thing almost of he's not going to be the co-main event. But he is going to be the co-main event. I just don't know. So, yeah, it's hard.
It's interesting. It's I'm just trying to fantasy book Rock and Roman because it's is there any Angle slam on Rikishi?
Man, the power.
Is there any scenario where The Rock beats Roman and ends this whole reign?
No. Absolutely not. And at this point, we go. Angle with the 3. Angle with the slam. Yep. Short answer, no, there isn't. And also at this point, I think with how the Reigns story has played out, he doesn't need The Rock, but we're getting it anyways. I think there was a time when he would have needed to have this match against The Rock, but he doesn't need it right now. But they'll tell the story.
Yeah, I just wonder, is there any value in The Rock ending the whole Roman Reigns thing?
We'll find out, but I don't think so. Mark, yell at me, internet, but I don't think he's needed.
I'd say the only scenario that comes to mind initially is if you said Rock ends it, he's committed to, do a handful of matches between now and SummerSlam, and we're going to have Cody be the one to beat The Rock.
Yeah.
And there's a story to be told of mutual respect and, generation, my father, your father.
Yeah.
There actually could be that. But again, you'd need a 6-month commitment from The Rock to at least work, a couple pay-per-views and a couple TVs. So, it'd be interesting. So, all right, let's get to the aftermath.
Oh, it's time for the aftermath.
Yeah, interesting match. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought so. You got now to Rikishi getting beat up, costing The Rock, and so I think it was. This could have been a match on its own without the no DQ stuff. I understand why you said they did the no DQ because they had Stephanie get involved. They had Triple H come out. They had all kinds of Rikishi's out there now. But also, we've seen matches that aren't no DQ where people come out and then they don't give it a DQ finish. And so I think it almost undersells these two that they could have gone. It was a good match, but I also think they could have gone out without that stipulation and put on a great match if you let them.
I agree. I think the stipulation hurt him.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting so many people involved, it's really weird. So, yeah, I don't know. It was still good. I really enjoyed it.
What were the write-ups?
So, we got to get into the aftermath first, man. So, yeah, this one, you had it was actually the next night, Rikishi apologizing to The Rock for costing him the championship against Angle. Pretty much how it played out is you ended up with a match at Survivor Series against Rikishi and The Rock, which The Rock won on that one. And
that whole thing just kind of didn't have any steam, did it?
No. And it was And it was revealed throughout that The Rock gave Rikishi the keys to run down Austin. It, like you said, it's Survivor Series to cover for the neck, and so it was just a whole thing. And so, but they ended up having a match, like I said, at Survivor Series. Angle, on the other hand, while he had he actually taking on Austin at this point for a little bit too. And so there was a little bit there. Again, it was all really playing into that kind of the Angle and Austin leaving and stuff like that. And so and kind of getting that. So, but eventually Angle, you had him taking on the Undertaker. After Undertaker became the number one contender at Survivor Series, Angle ended up winning that match, which I forgot, with the help from his brother Eric. So yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, the write-ups on this one: PWI Kurt was 13 in 2000, Rock was number 2. The Torch on this one, they gave it 4.25 stars. The Observer newsletter on this one, this was the top match of the night as well. Again, but just kind of writing up on the match on this one, Angle did the Olympic Slam first on Rikishi, which was a huge guy to do it to, then to the Rock, and scored the pin to win the title for a big face pop. 4.25 as well too. So 2 4.25s on this one. Where are you giving it, Tom?
Man, I just didn't see it that high. To me, I'll give this a 6.
Yep.
It was fine. I thought that it was too gimmicky. Sometimes I love the interference, and it's kind of wild, and it's a fun car crash. This one just didn't do it for me. I think that straight match would have been better, and yeah, that's where I'm at. Just didn't love it.
I'm at a 7 because the match was so good, even with the stipulation. But I think this, like we said, this is one of the few times, or maybe numerous times, whatever you want to say, that the stipulation took away from the match. And so let him go out there. Fine. Let Stephanie, she could be at ringside and she could still slide him the belt and hide it. And Earl Hebner can play stupid, and that's that. And so, I just think there was a lot of potential. They put on a good match despite the stipulation. So really good stuff though. So, but only a 7. But of course, want to remind everybody, make sure you're checking out manscaped.com, using that code PAYOFF. We're getting you 20% off and free shipping, all kinds of good stuff. Holidays are coming up, so it's time to start ordering that good gift stuff. And so make sure you're getting that taken care of using our code PAYOFF. And then, of course, Caldera and Lab as well, too, 20% off using the code PAYOFF there as well, too. All kinds of men's gear, men's wear, men's shaping, whatever you need. We got you covered. They have you covered. Just put in, if you're buying something in a store, just use the code PAYOFF. You're probably going to get a discount somewhere. So just make sure you're using it and you're getting that for yourself. So with that, that's all I got. We're going back a little bit further next week, though. I'm excited for next week.
Me too. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. 1995. So, all right, man. As always, we appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.